Okay, welcome to the Chapter 15 Human Resource Management presentation lecture. Please make sure that you have the notes if there are notes associated with this chapter, and then rewind the slides if needed to make sure that you are able to get all of the notes for this presentation lecture, as it will be content that is covered on your assessments. All right, so let's get started with section 15.1, Employees, the Key to Success. When it comes to HR is a very unique but yet very, very needed aspect of business management. And in order for us to take a look and see exactly what human resource managers and the human resource management department do, let's first define some terms. What are human resources? Human resources are your employees. These are the people who are employed and carry out daily tasks. Now, when it comes to HR management or human resource management, this is the department of your business that's going to find, select, train, and evaluate employees. So when it comes to managing those human element and human resources, HR plays a vital role. HR departments will also create job descriptions for all the different employment opportunities for potential employees. These are detailed outlines of the duties, qualifications, and conditions for a particular job. And whenever you are an employee at a particular organization, you are compensated for your time, which is known as the pay and the benefits. So continuing on with some of the other terms, wage versus salary, two different ways that employees can be compensated. A wage is an amount of money that's paid on an hourly basis, which is different from a salary, because a salary is a fixed amount of money that is paid each week, month, or year, no matter how many hours are worked during that same time period. So let's continue on with some more of the HR terms. We have benefits and recruitment. Now, benefits, this is also known as extra compensation that workers receive, could be health insurance, sick leave, holiday pay, even retirement plans. Now, HR departments, it's not always the case that employees go actively looking for employment. Sometimes employers go looking for employees. And when this happens, this is known as recruitment. This is actively looking for qualified people to fill a particular job and fill that job description. So HR plays many different roles. When it comes to the actual recruiting of potential employees, what HR departments will do is they will go ahead and access their recruitment sources. So areas where they might be able to find employees might be job fairs. They might put ads in the newspaper or magazine. They might actually go and visit different schools. They could also advertise or recruit through the internet, employment agencies, and also referrals. So these are all utilized in getting the proper employees into an organization. Now, when it comes to the job applicants, when the HR department starts going through potential candidates to fill a position, the first thing that they will do is consider job applicants. The first step to selecting the right candidate for the job is reviewing resumes and application forms. These are normally sent in together, usually possibly even with a cover letter or a letter of interest. This is the first step of screening job applicants. The resume is very important because it is a worker's summary of academic and work history. It is a snapshot of what was accomplished by a potential employee in the world of work and also from an educational standpoint. The second step in the screening process is selecting the right candidate and then bringing that candidate in for an initial job interview. Job interviews can consist of more than one, but there has to be one interview before there can be a second. So getting a chance for that face-to-face contact and being able to answer and ask some questions regarding the job and regarding the person in general is known as the interview. Now, when it comes to the interview, there are a couple things that you need to remember. First of all, the recruiter is looking to find out certain things, and the candidate is also looking to find out certain things. So, for example, if the candidate is right for the job. That's what the recruiter wants to know. Or how the candidate communicates. Again, something the recruiter wants to know. But the candidate is also going to want to know some stuff about the organization that he or she is applying for. So determining whether or not this is the right job for him or her. And then answer any other outstanding questions regarding the position that might come up or that the candidate might have had before even coming into the interview. Now, The third step is to select that proper candidate. So you have your interview committee. Your interview committee is going to give input as to who they think is the proper candidate for the particular position, and then the HR department goes ahead and selects the candidate, and then also puts the candidate through job testing. And testing is going to help companies make sure that job candidates have the right skills and character for the particular job that they have been put into. And this will also help them determine whether or not a change needs to be made in terms of possible termination or additional training. Now, in order to determine whether or not you have the right candidate, what you might have happen is actually what you will have happen is the employer is going to do background checks. Background checks and check with references. Background check is verifying that you do not have a criminal record and that all the information provided by the job applicant is accurate. A reference is someone who can comment on on the job applicant's character and qualifications for a particular job. References are usually stated on a resume or available upon request by the candidate when it is sent into the organization for the HR department to reference after interviews, or maybe not during interviews, but maybe after interviews or even before interviews. All right, this concludes the content for section 15.1. Momentarily, we will go over into the section 15.2, so make sure that you go back and get all of the information needed to fill out your notes or that you want to have jotted down on employees, the key to success. Okay, welcome back, and here we go with the section 15.2 of the HR Management, Chapter 15, which is the developing and the retaining of employees. Make sure, again, you have the note guide or your notebook along so you can jot down notes as we go through this content, and you can use it as study tools for your upcoming assessment. All right, so developing employees. Once you hire the employee as an HR department, your job is definitely not done. Employees need to be developed and trained and improved, and you play a vital role in that as an HR department. Employees to develop, they need to be oriented, trained, and even evaluated. This is all very common practice in all HR departments to be able to move employees along and make them the best possible employee they can be. Human resource staff members assist in developing these employees. They might have programs in place, training sessions in place, orientations, maybe even mentorship programs to help develop these employees. Let's take a look at a real world situation when it comes to training methods. I'm not sure if you knew this or not, but Dell Computer's leading edge program is going to allow its managers to go through 10 days of networking with other executives, which is also going to even include 3 days with their chairman, Michael Dell. So this is an example of a manager or any type of a leadership role being hired, being brought on, and having to go through this type of a training scenario in order to improve and prepare yourself for the position. Every organization is going to be slightly different in how they tackle this, but this is just Dell's take on it. All right, let's go through some key terms when it comes to developing and retaining employees. How do HR departments do this? Well, they might put on an orientation, which is the process of helping new employees adjust to a company. It could include tours, interviews with other employees, or even mentorship programs. There's also OJT, which is also known as on-the-job training. This is actually throwing yourself into the fire and actually doing the job that you've been hired to do and learning as you go. Both are very viable options and play key roles in the development of employees. There's also group training. You might have a number of hires that come on at the same time, and they are being taught several employees in a class in order to get them ready for their position and get them ready to start work as soon as possible. Now, within training itself, there might be some other things that are done to be able to expand on the abilities of these employees. Could be a job rotation, which is going to move employees to different tasks or departments so that they can gain experience within different aspects of the organization. Job rotation is going to help prevent boredom, and it could possibly even increase morale. I know there's not many people in this world like doing the same thing day in and day out. They like a little variety in their work day. Another key term here when it comes to evaluating employees is performance appraisal. This is an evaluation of how well an employee is doing a job, a reflection of performance up to this point, and areas of improvement that might need to be made. Now, when it comes to a change in employee status, the HR department are the ones who are going to communicate this and track this for the organization. For example, an employee might be promoted to a different position, transferred to another department, or even terminated and fired. If this is the case, HR needs to update the employee records and make sure that the human resources are being tracked and are accurate and up to date at any given time. Now, some other key terms when it comes to employees moving to different areas within the organization. An employee might be promoted, which means a higher level job with more authority and responsibility and possibly even pay. We might have an employee who gets transferred, which means moving to a different department. They move to another job within a company, within the same company, or even a different building, usually at the same level and the same pay. Just a little bit different expectations in terms of job responsibilities. There's also separation. Separation is like termination, being fired, or voluntarily leaving the organization, which is leaving a company for any reason, usually required to complete an exit interview. Most HR departments will require you to do so, others will not. Each organization is different. Now, separation. So what happens when a worker is fired? Well, you can be terminated for a number of different reasons. Rules are not followed, work performance is unacceptable, or there is an inability to get along with others. All of these aspects of this type of behavior is usually laid out in the form of an employee handbook that most employees will have to sign and follow as long as they are employed by that organization. Any lack of or any failure to be able to follow along and meet the requirements of the handbook could result in termination. Now, if a company needs to downsize, this might not be up to the employee. There might be changes, downsize, employees being laid off, or positions being eliminated. If this occurs, then there's not enough work for all employees. Therefore, employees no longer have a job and no longer have work for them to be able to come in and do on a daily basis. So they might be removed from the company in that regard. Now, when we have a lot, or not very many, but whenever we have employees who are leaving and coming to the organization, this is known as turnover. This is a number of employees who leave an organization or are replaced over time. So it's like a revolving door of employees. How many are going out? How many are coming in? Known as turnover. All right, and then that concludes the presentation lecture for Chapter 15, both sections 15.1 and 15.2. Please make sure that you review the slides to make sure that you have all the notes and have everything written down that you would like to have noted on this chapter's content. And then I will see you next time we meet in class.